So I'm starting the week early this week. It's Sunday, and that's because a client of mine really needs a video really Monday. And ultimately, sometimes when you're editing video, it just takes time. So I'm buying myself some more time. Also this week, for the week ahead that is, on Friday, I'm taking a day off to go away for the weekend with my mates. Losing a day, gaining a day. Really glad I went in there. It just clears my head to deal with other stuff. Thank you so much, Ira, and all the best being freelance. Awesome, thank you, that was brilliant. Let me hit stop. It's National Eye Health Week, so I'm off to get my eyes tested. I've been stood up for a podcast. This is like the third one that has gone wrong recently, which is frustrating, but I've been determined not to let it kind of like annoy me. So instead I've ended up spending the time upgrading to Calendly Pro. Basically I was on free Calendly, but with the paid for one, you can actually set it up to send personalised reminders. So I figure I can set up a reminder to my guests 24 hours before we're due to chat. And for that matter, I can also, when they book in, put all the details that I normally send personally, which takes quite a bit of time. I can set all of that to be automated. I don't blame them because sometimes they book in weeks and weeks ahead of when we actually chat. So yes, positive. I think it's going to work. So I'm appearing on somebody else's podcast talking about using video for your businesses. It's like a marketing podcast, which I was invited to be on, which is pretty cool. But my wife's laptop, because she was working from home today, was broken. So I left her my laptop and I was gonna have to cancel the podcast. And then I remembered I have my old Mac that sits on my desk. It's too slow and ploddy to actually use for editing until I figure out how to fix it, but it'll do for recording a podcast, right? Do you know, something happened while recording that episode today I thought I'd mention. He asked me a question about what do I advise to my clients about strategy. And I started off answering it and then I stopped and I said, you know what, I can bluff my way through this answer, but strategy isn't really my thing. We only have a certain amount of time for your episode, so do you want to skip on to something else? Because really I'm more about the creation side of it. I'm really pleased I did that. I didn't let myself get trapped into giving an answer that I wasn't really comfortable giving. Which is better for his podcast, but it's better for me as well. I've got to say as well, I don't know if you can see the clock, but it's 2:20. I'm really pleased that my new way of scheduling the podcast is working. So instead of starting at 2 p.m, that podcast was scheduled for 1:15. We had some technical issues at the beginning, but it didn't matter because we had so much time. I've still got an hour before I've got to pick up the kids, and I can't believe it's taken me years. I've been doing that podcast for nearly 5 years. Finally, it got into my thick skull, but that was a better way of doing it. Coming up to 10 o'clock, and I've just finished editing the second episode of Being Freelance for this week because I'm really trying to get a week ahead I remember last year going away with my friends for the weekend and being sat there when they were drinking a load of beers, and I was in another room trying to sort out the upload and getting it online and changing things in the edit. And I remember thinking, why? I record so far in advance. Why am I not ahead? So that is what we've done this time. This week's episode is already ready to go live automatically, and this is next week's episode so that we can start getting ahead with it, which feels good. The Non-Employee of the Week Awards. The winner is Frankie Shanahan! Woo! Back from a really nice weekend away, working from home. I've heard that Holly, who is going to be doing a live Q&A with us at 1:30, is not feeling well, so we're rescheduling that, which means I need to communicate that to everybody so that they don't turn up at 1:30 to do it live. Also need to record a new episode of Doing It for the Kids, so me and Frankie will be chatting. Plus I've got some client work to knock through. On stairs and uneven ground at building sites. So don't go out the window. So my intention was to work from the co-work space today, and I went in this morning and actually I got lots sorted. Like I had lots of things to kick off and get my Trello boards in order. But actually I just feel like full of cold. I've got a headache and I've got a podcast to record, the kids to pick up even though it's bound to rain, and I thought, you know what, I don't need to be here, so I've come home. Because sometimes what you really need is to lie on the sofa and have a fish finger sandwich, and if needs be, nod off. Well, I decided to close my eyes on the sofa, and I did. I fell asleep and I feel much better. I set an alarm so that I only had 20 minutes if I did fall asleep, because I've got a podcast to record. But it just goes to show that sometimes you've just got to make the most of the fact that you can be your own boss. You've not got to sit there and watch the hours tick by. You can take care of yourself. It's Thursday and it's Harvest Festival Day, so going into the office late this morning, which is like one of those perks I've mentioned before, of being able to go to those things without feeling guilty about everybody else in your office, without having to plead with your boss or anything like that. This week has been unusually quiet for me, but what I've been doing, just doing some admin stuff, doing my finances, changed my business banking to business insurance, which is something I have meant to do for so long. I investigated whether I could get healthcare, and no, maybe it's just because I've turned 40, but it's something I keep thinking about. Issue 2 is on its way.
Friday night was so much fun. And then Saturday, I didn't do any work at all, just hung out with the family. But now it's Sunday morning, 8 a.m. I'm heading into the co-work space. Well, that went really well. Much clearer, made lots of notes about what I'm expected to do in the pitch call tomorrow. I realised that now I have quite a broad experience to draw from in those kind of conversations. But I also know when to say that I don't, but that I know people who I will be able to work with in order to bring about what they need. I think that's important. Nobody's expected to know everything. Looking forward to that now. It's 11:15. Time to crack on with Sunday.